Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura and my husband Chris and I have been eating a meat-based carnivore diet for 6.5 years now. We are doing a little mini staycation here in Arizona. We're up in northern Arizona enjoying this beautiful, crisp fall weather that we never get down in Phoenix. My mom is in town for a couple of weeks and she and the kids are going for a walk and playing some games. And so Chris and I are gonna cook a big family lunch for everybody today, which is one of our favorite things to do. We're gonna eat a variety of meat. My mom does carnivore, ketovore-ish. Our kids eat a lot of meat, eat some other whole foods as well. So I thought I would just take you along and show you the big family lunch that we're having today, the variety of meats that we're eating. We have a few fun, obscure meats that we are having for a special treat today, and then the sides that my mom and the kids have as well. I want to take a quick second and let you know that this video is sponsored by Element. Element is the electrolyte drink mix that I use every single day. I love the convenience of the packets, and I typically stick with the unflavored version, which is literally just sodium, magnesium, and potassium, and that's it. If you tolerate artificial sweeteners and you want to try some flavors, they have a lot of different flavored versions that are wonderful, hot or cold, depending on what you're looking for. And best of all, they have a no questions asked, 100% money back guarantee. So if you are not satisfied for any reason, you just let them know and they'll send you your money back. Element has a deal for all my subscribers where you can get a free sample pack with any purchase and you can try all of their flavors. You can check out this unflavored version and see which one you like best. You just go to drinkelement.com/Laura Spath and you can get your free sample pack with any purchase. Thanks to Element for sponsoring this video. One of the ways we keep this interesting and sustainable for us is to have a variety of different foods on our plate for the meal. My husband could live on just eating nothing but steaks all the time, but I like a little more variety than that. So for our main meal, we often have 2 meats, and then even today, we're gonna do a little fried cheese as a side as well. So I'll have a fun variety of food on my plate. We always have some type of beef, and so today for that beef, we are gonna use picanha. This is Chris's by far favorite, same thing with my 10-year-old daughter, Penelope, and it is a top sirloin cap, and you can see here, there is a good amount of beef underneath, and then there is a huge fat cap on top. We actually bought this, just the cap from Walmart. It can be kind of hard to find. Sometimes it's called picanha or top sirloin cap, or even it's cut into steaks and it's called a culotte steak. But if you can't find any of that, you might be able to find a full top sirloin in a bag, which has the cap piece on top of it. And then there's a much bigger piece underneath that is just the plain top sirloin, which we have done in the past as well. And we actually have here some steaks that we've frozen and thawed, and these are all top sirloin steaks that my mom and Penelope and I are gonna have as well. So Chris is gonna eat about half of this and then save half for tomorrow. And then I have some smaller top sirloin steaks that, if this was the full butt, would just be underneath. So you could just buy that full big piece, pull off the top, which is the picanha, and then you can butcher the bottom piece into these smaller lean steaks, which depending on how you cook them, if you don't overcook them, they're really tender. So while Chris breaks down this and cuts it into steaks, I am going to open up all of these little steaks and prep them before I season them. I'm just gonna dry them off with some paper towels. Anytime you're gonna put meat and you want a good crust on your meat, whether that's on a cast iron skillet or on the grill, you wanna make sure it's nice and dry. That way the meat doesn't steam from all the liquid and you're just gonna get a really good sear and a crust on it.
All right, I'm gonna cut this whole picanha into steaks about between 1.25 inches and 1.5 inches. And I can pretty much eye that. I've done that so many times. And I'm cutting with the grain here, where usually typical steak you'd cut against the grain, but since we're going to cut across the grain when we eat it, it's going to give us that perfect muscle structure. We like to get a tender bite. You can see the grain's going across here, so when we eat it, we'll slice it like this, which means in each bite, the grains will be nice and short.
You gonna trim any of that fat off?
I am not. Some people like a little less fat than that, and you could trim that off if you want, but I love the fat, so I'm gonna keep it. Not one, I'll just leave that. Chef's choice cut right there.
So in addition to the beef, we'd like to do another meat. I actually had some boneless, skinless chicken thighs thawed But I think we're gonna save those for tomorrow. And today we are gonna do this beautiful piece of Iberico Secreto, which I had never heard of until we spent those few months in Spain. And this is a company called Campo Grande where they ship legitimate Spanish pigs and Iberico pork to the US. And so this is my first time trying it since we've been back in the US, which I'm super pumped to try. I also have a little baby nub of a pork loin that this is what Nathaniel's gonna eat today. We don't waste anything around here. I had made some homemade pork chips for our drive up here for like our road trip to eat in the car and just to snack on while we're here playing games. And the leftover nub that wouldn't slice evenly was this piece of pork loin, and that's what Nathaniel's gonna eat. So the only thing I need to do to prep this beautiful piece of pork is just open it up. This is like the Wagyu of pork is what they say, but it is gonna be so fatty. And I'm just super pumped to have like a way of getting it here, but look at all this fat on that pork. It's gonna be so good. And this is gonna grill up so hot and fast. I'm just gonna make sure it's gonna be nice and dry so all of that fat will char. Okay, here we go. This is all the meat we're gonna have for lunch today. From a seasoning perspective, we love seasonings in our house. If they don't agree with you, you don't have to use them, don't worry. But I am just gonna use only this kosher salt on the pork because it's just so fatty and it's gonna already have so much flavor in it. And I just really wanna taste that special of the Iberico pork. So I'm not going to use any other seasonings with it. However, on all of the beef, we typically use some adobo seasoning and smoked paprika. And then Chris uses this spicy adobo, which is too spicy for us. So if we can figure out which steaks are his and which ones are mine, then he'll use this instead. So we're gonna put some spicy adobo on the picanha. And then for the rest of us, we'll just use the regular adobo and smoked paprika. I also am going to use a meter probe in this biggest piece of picanha and then also in this Iberico pork just so I can keep an eye on the internal temperatures and know when it's done. Okay, Chris is going to take all of this meat and some zucchinis that I sliced up and go man the grill while I do everything else to prep inside. There you go. You may get the door.
Yeah, thank you, babe.
In addition, I'm also going to slice up this avocado that my mom loves, and it's a good way for her to get some extra fat in because she tends to eat leaner meats most of the time. And then I also, here's more fat and dairy. I'm gonna make some of this fried cheese. Chris always gives me like the high sign when he's about 5 to 7 minutes from coming off the grill. And I will just take all of this cheese. It's like an oven baked cheese or oftentimes called a bread cheese. And I will fry it in a skillet with some butter. And it's like the perfect mozzarella stick. It's my favorite thing ever. So luckily we try to make it whenever there's a lot of people here so I don't eat the whole brick at once and I just stick to like 1 or 2 pieces. And the kids are gonna have a baked potato, which is carbs, I know, shocking. But we really stick with whole food carbs for them and also making sure that they're not just having a ton in one day. So they had protein for breakfast, they'll have pretty strict protein for dinner. And so their carbs that they have today with all the hiking and the running around and everything they're doing, it's not a big deal for them to have a small potato. It's kind of one of those things, and the ways that we talk about why they eat carbs and Chris and I don't eat carbs is because we ate too much sugar for our whole life and it made us sick and now we have to have none. And as long as they're focusing on, you know, whole foods, they're staying away from seed oils and processed foods and toxins and food dyes and all the high fructose corn syrup and the chemicals, then their body can metabolize some amounts of fruit and vegetables and potatoes occasionally, unlike Chris and I can because we spent so long being unhealthy. So we really just try to focus on, hey, if you have a bunch of fruit for breakfast and you're having something else later for dinner, then we keep it a little more low carb for lunch. But on a day like today, when they're really active and they're not having carbs other times in the day, then it's not a big deal for them to have a small baked potato for lunch. And we do focus on not having those right before they go to bed. They need time to run around and play and burn all of that off. The reason we use the cookie sheet in the cooling rack is that look at all this crust that Chris just created on this meat. And now We want it to absorb all of its own juices again and not like steam itself on this hot tray. So, or if the tray got hot. So it's kind of like dripping to make sure that it doesn't get all soggy and ruin all of that beautiful crust he just created. And then it's not gonna like keep cooking unevenly. Here we go. To cook this cheese, I just fry up a little bit of butter and have a medium-high heat skillet, and then I rotate it, and within 3 to 4 minutes, and it's golden brown on every side and a little bit melty in the middle, then it's perfect. I consider myself a pretty decent griller, but Chris is the master at just having a ton of different things all done at the same time. And then here's a look at what our family's having. The kids all have a piece of meat. Penelope wanted some of those vegetables. Chris likes to put some red pepper flakes on top. We all love a little bit of crunchy salt on top and feta cheese. Even my mom and I put that on our steaks. Some avocado for my mom. Everybody has a little bit of cheese and all of their different meat preferences. This is one of the beauties of grilling, is that everybody kind of just gets to pick whatever sounds good to them, and we're able to just all eat our favorites. This pork turned out absolutely incredible. No matter what kind of pork you're eating, if it's dry, you're likely overcooking it. So make sure you're watching that internal temperature and don't overcook your pork. And then look at the perfection of Chris's picanha. That is cooked perfectly. Okay, here we go. Look at this pork. That is so juicy. There's so much fat on this. That is so tender. And then this top sirloin. And my absolute favorite thing ever, which is fried cheese. Okay, this is my challenge to you. Don't be afraid to step outside your box. Look for new kinds of meat. Put a little variety on your plate. Maybe even get crazy and use some spices. Who knows? Whatever you do, just make sure it works for you.